So what does journaling change in my life? Why do I have to journal? What if 5 minutes of creative journaling could make you more patient, less reactive, calmer, and peaceful in your everyday life? In this video, I have interviewed one of my members of my membership Pilgrim of the Path Circle, and we talked about what journaling means for her. If you feel your mind doesn't switch off, if you try to control the outcomes at work, at home, for your personal growth, this video is for you. So in this conversation with one of my members, we explore how creative journaling, especially through watercolor and simple visualization exercises, can help you move out of your head and into your body. If you're a busy professional or simply someone who lives in the mind, this can give you a very practical shift. So let's get into it. I remember when we talked about this, is that last year when we did the spring and the equinox retreat, and I wanted to do a different take on journaling, except just writing things down, but painting and bringing all together. Anyway, so what shifted? Can you share something? What shifted for you?
I think I've always thought of journaling um, as an analytical process, something that comes out as a framework, a way of understanding something, very literal. And I think what we experienced, it happened in stages. Of first, we did a bit of water painting. Um, and I think that was the first experience of doing something that you actually can't control. I really enjoyed just playing with that, playing with the different colors. And we then moved on to a bit of journaling, and um, and it was really beautiful what came out. It's almost like distilling the essence of what your brain is expressing. And I remember going back to the to our room, and I basically then treated it as a project. And my analytical mind came in, and I took my sellotape out, and I took the sentence, and I basically turned it into something completely different. And I was so proud of myself. I was like, wow, I'll actually show you. I made this, I made it this, and I didn't like what I'd put there. So then I cut another piece out, and then I sellotaped another piece onto it. And I took my very free sort of watercolors, and I started turning it into a manual. I think it was so funny. I think Andres referred to it as an SOP.
But so basically, the painting part accessed another part of your how can I say, your reflection part. Instead of writing, you all of a sudden started to tap into a different way of connecting to a reflective exercise. Instead of
Yes,
writing, you now go to the visual side, the abstract side, putting that on paper, and then from that abstract side, you go into the, okay, now I'm going to start writing. So it's almost like getting different spheres of the brain and tapping into that. Am I right?
absolutely. And I don't think I realized it at the time. I treated it like separate things. And then afterwards, going back, I think we had a discussion about it, realizing that this was not the point. The point was the actual expression. We sort of were in the beginning, we were just fiddling around and playing with the water and the paint, and that was one piece. And I actually went back to that, and I realized that I really liked that. It was just playing with the paint and the color. And I think that was what the switch was, is the experience of expressing yourself without the idea of the outcome.
Okay.
And then taking those words and putting it through. I think it definitely linked different parts. It's that somatic experience of the water, what your body does. Just, you're not thinking, you're not analyzing, you're not constructing, you're not thinking of the outcome. And I
Yes.
think, yeah, the click was how much I enjoyed the playful process. And actually, even though it was a test, uh, what the water did, what my hand did, what the color did after drying was the most beautiful part of the process.
Okay. So if you have to say, between thinking about things, just thinking, writing things down, and painting, those three things, how do they differ for you?
I think you've mentioned it so beautifully in your lessons about the different parts of the brain and how the mind works and how different parts of the brain are activated. I mean, even thinking and typing has a different impact than writing with your pen. So I find that if I'm writing down, there's two ways that I use sort of writing journaling. It's either sort of like that brain dumping or a stream of consciousness where I'm actually using that just to empty my brain. Other times it's to analyze. What am I thinking? And then I, do mind maps and those type of things. I find it's a very analytical process. What uh, the painting does for me is, and specifically water paint, funny enough, because it's not that messy. You can do it anywhere and you can't really control it. Um, it forces me to let go. It forces me to stop worrying about the outcome, expression without the goal of understanding. Whereas writing, it's I'm trying to understand. I'm grappling with something. My mind is something's going round and round and round. But when I write it down, I have to create the sentence, and that sentence at the end of the day tells me something. Whereas when I do it creatively, it's something else. It's an expression. It's a feeling. It's an
Ah,
expression of a feeling that sometimes you can't put into words. And I
ah,
find that expression to be very fulfilling and
yes.
opening to get out of my mind,
Okay.
which is very important for me because I'm quite an analytical thinker. I'm always thinking, I'm trying to solve a problem. And the idea of just playing with something, and a lot of the times I really enjoy what it comes out as, but it's not really what I've expected. And that's, for me, a really great process to go through
Yeah.
because it's an act of letting go, and the experience and the outcome is never as expected. And that practice is something I want to keep doing more in
Yeah.
my life.
And it was challenging for you to actually sit down and allow things to uh, unfold naturally and not try to be in the control of it, right?
That was I suppose, aha moment. I didn't realize that I was actually controlling the situation. Yeah, that the structure and the forcing and the analytical, the process is more important than the outcome. As I said, it's even difficult to put into words. It's and I suppose if I think about it, it's more about getting into your body, right?
Okay. That
It's
was,
forget about the mind.
yeah, are more aware of your body, right?
That's it.
It
Yeah.
starts to become part of you and not just this um, cloud of whirlwinds in your mind, and you're actually starting to, it starts to sink. I actually don't want to, I want to ask you. So you saying yes, yes, yes. So
Mm.
what kind of things are you aware of in your body when you journal, being it writing or painting or
Mm. I think if I'm painting or drawing or doing some kind of creative journaling, um, I realize a sense of calmness. I realize that my brain switches off. It's almost becomes a type of meditation for me. I sometimes struggle to meditate consistently, and I can start feeling anxiety filling up when I start overthinking. And, sometimes it's difficult to force, well, for myself, to force myself to get into my body. Maybe I can't go for a walk. I can't really get outside. I can't really start exercising or something like that, which also works very well. Sort of a daily or at least weekly practice of creative journaling gets me out of my mind and allows me to I suppose I realize afterwards how relaxed I become. Everything starts sort of letting go. It's the that act of letting go instead of thinking, okay, what's my to-do list? What do I need to do next? How do I need to do this? Oh, and even when I'm journaling with my pen and paper, sometimes I get irritated with my handwriting, or I feel like this isn't going anywhere, or I get into a rush where the creative side of it, I feel like it almost switches off my mind. And you can zoom in and out of the mind. Yeah, you can allow your hand and your body and the water, the page. I enjoy experimenting with what the page and the water does, that relationship. And then you focus so much on that that I move into a different state of consciousness in a way.
And
And I enjoy.
yeah, and how does those few mm, can maybe seconds or moments, how does that affect your general life, your everyday life when you are not journaling, when you are getting back into um the hamster wheel, the corporate life, or actually even just with your family?
Mm.
As you did you feel that there's actually something that has switched? I always like to like there's that little switch and all of it. It's not something you can describe in words, it's just a feeling. So, but try as best as you can. How did your daily life change?
I think it's when I do it, and if I've had a break and I haven't been able to do it for a while, and then I specifically water painting because it's so free, I can tell that, yeah, the positive effect is that I find myself not having an instant need to correct things, an instant need to analyze something, an instant need to react, um, and rather observe. And that's a challenge for me to observe rather than react and have this impulse of trying to fix something or change it. So when I practice creative journaling frequently, I'm more patient. And especially, I've got young children. I've got a 2-year-old and a 3.5-year-old. And what this method of journaling, or any type of journaling, but specifically creative journaling, reminds me is that life is what it is. Things unfold in the time that they unfold. And the observation of what's happening and not focusing on what's coming next. I think that's the biggest thing that just happens automatically, is practicing the ability to observe and not manipulate a situation to
Okay.
get to a specific outcome.
Yeah.
And it sounds quite simple. I mean, the words coming out sound very simple, yes, obviously, but it's the practice of doing it that's really difficult, because everything has to, in our lives, everything has to happen at a certain time. You're rushing from here to here. The ability to pause and just understand that if something takes 2 or 3 minutes longer, everything will be fine.
Yeah.
That's quite a big impact, especially for me, somebody who's always jumping. My mind often moves a lot quicker than is needed.
Okay.
So that ability to just let things happen, um, release the grip a little bit and observe and see the beauty in those moments, especially
Okay.
with water painting, because
Yeah. So, okay, so while, as we are speaking now about watercolors, is there some few things that would you like to show us on how your process is? And I remember, so the first thing that or not the first thing, but the thing that I remember was the book of the trees, which I love, the
Mm.
connection to
These
nature.
are just, I think, what I've been enjoying is experimenting. And I've just realized that there's so many different ways to journal and to have reflection and to pause. I always thought that journaling had to be something that needed to be at a certain time of day in a certain format, and it needs to follow a certain aspect. But I've learned that there are different ways to do it, depending on what you're feeling at that moment and how much time you have, and also who you're with. So the observation part of it, just observing the small moments, and basically, I actually got a couple of these books. They really not that pricey for I think how long it's going to last, and it's really thick paper, so it's almost allowing me to do sort of multi-medium work. And I just thought to myself, let's just capture, let's just as you do with a journal, let's just put this down on paper. And bringing nature into it, my daughter often brings me flowers, and I thought, let me keep that as a memory, um, physically in the book, and also as inspiration to look at the color, look at the texture, look at the lines. That when you focus on the detail of an organic object, um, yeah, I suppose it invokes wisdom. It's that appreciation of nature and the organic structure of it, I suppose. The flow. It's not, everything's not tied into a box. I find it calms me down. It helps me relax because it's so beautiful. And also the simplicity of it. Just looking at a little bud of a flower and looking at the different shades of color, doing that for 5 minutes instantly calms me down and brings me back to my
Present.
breath, takes me out of my mind, which is a good thing for me. And then sort of I've kind of been carrying this book around, and it's really beautiful because it shows sort of different types of leaves, different types of seeds, and it's actually quite detailed. So I like this because I also play around with line drawing, and it's that connection to nature. So what I like about this is it almost blends the analytic, sort of intellectual. It's interesting, it's stimulating for the mind, but it draws me into something that becomes a physical experience and leads me to nature. And then I started experimenting with um, sort of line drawings. And this has been actually quite very interesting. These line drawings, so I take inspiration maybe from something I see or something in the book, and then I start playing around with it. The idea of making circles, so I first do the circles, and for my mind needs structure, so this allows me to play around within that circle. I feel like I can do anything in that circle and I can't mess it up because it's in the circle. And also because I like to sometimes jump around between different things. I can do waves in the one, I can do really intricate, and at the end of the day, it's just shapes. I've never drawn flowers and botanicals in my life, but these shapes, you just notice the shape, and then I just go round and round and round, and that becomes meditative for me. That's the way to put it.
Yes.
Takes me out of my mind. And then if you pair your breath with that, similar to the waves that I did over here, I think I saw something online about just following the wave. And if you pair your breath with that, and I mean, go even further with a 3-phase breath if you need to, if you're really, really stressed, just take pen, paper, and just draw over that line over and over again, but allow your breath to follow the sequence of the wave. And I do this when my children are playing. When I feel like I'm tensing up a little bit, I can go to this, and I don't want to think about color. I don't want to think about bringing the water out and those type of things. I just want to draw circles and draw waves, and I find it very calming. I find it quite therapeutic, and I can do it anywhere.
Okay.
So that's been really fun to
Yeah.
experiment as well.
I was just actually thinking when I saw the lines that you drew, I was thinking how easy it is to actually look at a tree and look at the bark of the tree and follow the lines of a tree, or looking at leaves or different plants having different um, thickness or thinness, and pair your breath with something like that. So there's a lot if you just look outside your window that you can actually redirect, and I think then writing down reflections, what come up. So I want to ask you this question. So if people say I don't have time to journal, or ah what can I say? Um yeah, I don't have time to set time aside.
Perhaps
Sorry?
like, how do I do it? I've heard a lot of people say, well, my handwriting's not great, or where do I do it? What am I going to write?
Yeah, so what would you say?
Mm. So my answer is experiment. I've really enjoyed experimenting. This is the one thing that I did with my with my daughter. I've got kids. I've got a full-time corporate job. It's there's not a lot of time. But what this is teaching me is that you need to prioritize yourself, and you need to prioritize. You need for myself to just slow down. This is quite an important thing to do, um, and I don't always have time. I don't always have half an hour in the morning. I don't always wake up before the kids. I don't always have time even after they've gone to sleep because I'm exhausted. So what's worked for me is to have different types of journaling, and I've really experimented, and I thought it would be okay. I'm now gonna water paint for 15 days or for a month, and I'm gonna do that every single day. But what it's ended up being is that on a Saturday, when I'm actually setting something up for my kids, I end up just taking 5 minutes or just fitting a few moments into the day and kind of how this started out is my daughter's handprint, and then I just really started playing with shapes. I did the squiggle, I did the circle, I did the color and the water, and going back to that observation of nature. It's about slowing down, and maybe it's got something to do with using our senses, looking at the texture of something, feeling something, seeing the
Yeah.
lines, and it's like really just using your sight and not labeling it as a sun that I'm painting, or not labeling it as a squiggle, just seeing how the paint responds with the water and seeing how that dries, which is a physical, it's a sense, it's
Yeah.
more of a sense than an action, and observing rather than doing. And that can be fit into a couple of minutes a day. Another thing that I like that I'm doing now is I got this book, which is a 5-year memory book. So basically, each day is one is yeah, each page is a day, and it's got space for 5 years. So starting obviously this year in 2026. Um, the idea is that every day you just write a few sentences. And that comes back to gratitude. It comes back to slowing down and realizing that joy, bliss, love, connection, all of those things are in our everyday lives. It's not something that we need to rush towards, or I've always felt like when I achieve this, and this, then I will be happy. When I have this, and this, then I will be calm or peaceful. Creating these moments in your everyday life and reflecting on it gives you a different perspective, and it's done in 5 minutes, not even. And what I'm really looking forward to is having a collection of special small moments in my life that I can look back on. So that doesn't take much time at all.
Okay. So, if you had to name one thing that you gained or not gained, or something that you've learned from, can take away from journaling, what would that be?
One thing. Um, the one thing would be, oh my goodness, there's so many things. There's so many things. Expression before understanding.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I feel like in everything we do, the outcome is front and center. And with journaling, you're allowing emotions, things in your mind to flow around and come out, and it is what it is. And I think what a journaling practice can teach people is to allow that flow to come out in any way or form. And journaling in a way where you know that it's going to be private, I think is also a good thing. You don't have to journal for somebody else to read it. You don't have to journal like it's Dear Diary. You don't even have to journal for yourself. If you can just journal for the sake of expression, there's so many benefits to that.
So, if this conversation resonated with you, this is exactly the kind of work we explore inside my membership. Apart from my 21-day gratitude journaling starting next week, this is what we do in our membership anyway. So we don't ask about reflection, we practice it, we embody. We are there for each other. And through guided journaling, sound baths, sound meditations, guided meditations, yoga nidra, and simple tools that you can use in your daily life. If you're ready to move from thinking to sensing, from reacting to observing, and build practices that actually support your nervous system, I invite you to join us on our Pilgrim of the Path. I'll drop the link below, you can find it, and also the link to my 21-day gratitude journaling journey. And if this video helped you, please subscribe. Please subscribe to my channel, sign up for my newsletter, join my membership, and send this video to someone you think might benefit from it. This will truly support in spreading the news and reaching those that need to hear this. So, thank you for watching and listening. Be kind to yourself and everybody around you, and enjoy every step on your path. Namaste.